They say witches no longer fly on broomsticks. In the cities of today, they hide inside screens, behind glowing green icons and silent notifications. In Abuja, where dreams are bought and sold as quickly as phone data, a new curse spread among students. It was not whispered in the marketplace or passed down by old griots. No. It came in the form of a WhatsApp invite that promised wealth beyond imagination. But every coin it gave carried a shadow, and every shadow demanded a soul. It began quietly. A handful of students received an invitation to a WhatsApp group. No one knew who created it. No admin was visible. Yet those who joined awoke the next day to find thousands of naira mysteriously deposited into their accounts. At first, they laughed, celebrated, and flaunted their sudden wealth. Sneakers appeared overnight, hostel meals turned into feasts, and nights were filled with booming speakers and wild parties. The city watched these students transform in a matter of days. But soon, the accidents began. A motorbike skidded across an empty road. A student drowned in a hostel bathroom, though the tap was barely dripping. Another collapsed mid-laughter at a party, and each one had been in that group. Chika was the first to notice the pattern. Friends she cherished, classmates she shared meals with, gone without warning. She tried to warn others, but greed has a way of silencing caution. One evening, her closest friend Amaka leaned close, her freshly manicured nails tapping on the screen of a brand new iPhone. Her voice dripped with excitement as she whispered, "Join us, Chika." The money is real. Chika's heart tightened. She looked Amaka in the eye and said softly, "Something is wrong with that group." "Can't you see?" But Amaka only smiled, her lips curving into a strange grin, her eyes glowing faintly with a light that didn't belong to her. The more Chika observed, the darker the truth became. The group's profile picture was no ordinary icon. It shifted, a black circle that pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. Inside, faint faces flickered as though pressing against glass, souls captured and struggling to escape. And every time someone died, another face appeared in that circle. Curiosity grew into hunger. Hunger became obsession. Soon whispers spread across campus. The group was controlled by a woman, a witch of the digital age. She no longer needed shrines or sacred forests. She lived in codes and signals, feeding on attention and trading flesh for fortune. One night, as Chika slept, her phone buzzed sharply on her bedside table. The screen lit up with a new notification. Invitation. The Circle of Fortune. Her pulse quickened. She didn't click. She whispered a prayer under her breath, switched off her phone, and shoved it beneath her pillow. Yet in the hostel corridor, laughter broke the silence. Amaka's voice rose above the others, excited, greedy, trembling with delight. The witch had found another willing soul. Days passed, and funerals multiplied. The atmosphere on campus grew heavy, and fear lingered in every classroom. Chika, desperate for answers, travelled to Enugu to see her grandmother, a woman of wisdom, her wrinkled face carrying decades of memory. They sat by the fire that night as the crickets sang, and the flames painted shadows on mud walls. Chika poured out everything she had seen. The old woman nodded slowly, her voice low and steady. "Child, witches have always existed. They once used masks, drums, and blood. Now they use screens. Greed is the same rope, only tied differently." She took a cowrie shell, tied it onto Chika's wrist, and pressed it firmly. Its surface felt warm, glowing faintly in the firelight. "This will protect you. But beware. If you open that circle, no charm can save you." Back in Abuja, the circle was spreading like fire. Each week, more joined. Each week, someone died. The dean of students called emergency meetings, shouting about cults and bad luck, but the whispers grew louder. And then came the moment no one could ignore. In the middle of a lecturer, respected, feared, admired, staggered mid-sentence. He clutched his chest, fell against the podium, and slumped lifeless to the floor. His phone clattered beside him, its cracked screen buzzing with one last message. Displayed on that shattered screen was the same dark circle. Now even the lecturers whispered the name in fear. The WhatsApp witch. Chica knew then that the battle was no longer about curiosity. It was about survival. The whispers around the university grew louder. What had begun as a thrilling rumor was now a tale wrapped in fear. Students spoke in hushed voices about the WhatsApp group. Some swore it was a blessing, others claimed it carried a curse. Amara moved through the campus, her heart torn between fear and a desperate need to uncover the truth. Each day she saw faces missing from lecture halls, names whispered of in memorial gatherings. One evening, as she walked back from class, her friend Ada ran to her, eyes wide with terror. She confessed that she too had joined the group. The promise of wealth had been irresistible, and the money had come. But Ada's voice shook as she revealed the nightmare that followed. Shadowy figures in her room at night, whispers in her dreams, and the sudden illness that had left her too weak to even stand some mornings. Amara held her trembling hand and promised she would not let this darkness consume her. That night, as Amara sat by her window, she stared at her phone, the glow of the screen tempting her. She knew that behind the curtain of normality lay something ancient, something monstrous, feeding through the devices they trusted so dearly. She resolved then that she would find the source. Her search led her to an old lecturer in the Department of African Studies, a man called Dr. Hassan. Rumors claimed he was eccentric, but others whispered he had knowledge of things beyond the physical. Amara approached him nervously, explaining all that had been happening. Dr. Hassan listened in silence, his face grim. When she finished, he leaned forward and said that what she described was no ordinary witchcraft. It was a fusion of the old ways and the new. A witch who had found a way to stretch her web into the digital world. He warned her that such a spirit could not be faced with bravery alone. She would need knowledge, allies, and a willingness to pay the price. Dr. Hassan told her of a man in Jos, a digital exorcist who had once broken a similar curse in Lagos. His name was Kabiru. If Amara truly wanted to confront the witch, she would have to travel north and find him. Fear prickled her skin, but she knew she had no choice. The deaths would not stop until someone acted. Ada insisted on coming with her, though she was weak. Together they boarded a night bus bound for Jos. The road stretched endlessly, lit only by the dull glow of passing towns. As they dozed uneasily, Amara dreamt of a faceless woman standing at the roadside, beckoning her closer. When she woke, her phone vibrated in her bag. She pulled it out to see the WhatsApp icon blinking, though she had not opened the app. Her throat tightened. The witch was aware of her. In Jos, the city was alive with a different rhythm, markets buzzing, motorcycles weaving, and the distant call of muezzins. They tracked down Kabiru to a modest apartment filled with strange equipment, laptops, charms tied with red cloth, gourds inscribed with markings, and candles that flickered even when there was no breeze. Kabiru studied them with sharp eyes and listened as Amara poured out her story. When she finished, he nodded slowly and told her that the witch was no ordinary being. She was an ancient spirit once bound to a shrine, who had discovered the power of technology and used it as a new vessel to claim souls. Kabiru explained that breaking her hold would not be simple. The group was a contract, every member tied to her by threads of blood and code. To face her, Amara would have to enter the group fully, not as a victim, but as a challenger. The thought chilled her, but Kabiru assured her that with the right preparations, she might stand a chance. He began to train her, teaching her rituals of cleansing and fortification. He showed her how to fasten protective charms to her phone, how to recite incantations that blurred the line between prayer and code. Ada watched with wide eyes, too frail to participate, but determined to support her friend. Nights in Jos grew heavy with tension. Each time Amara closed her eyes, she heard the witch's voice, soft, mocking, pulling her deeper. She saw visions of her classmates, pale and cold, their hands reaching out as if to drag her into their fate. Some mornings she woke to find scratches on her arms, though her room had been locked. Kabiru urged her to stay strong, reminding her that the witch would fight hardest just before the battle. Finally, the day came when Kabiru declared that she was ready. They would perform the ritual that night, one that would take her spirit into the realm where the witch resided. Amara's fear was immense, but so was her resolve. She knew that if she turned back, the deaths would never end, and Ada might be next. The air inside Kabiru's apartment grew heavy, as though the walls themselves were watching. Amara's phone screen glowed with an eerie light, and her pulse quickened. Kabiru whispered that the doorway was open. She must be strong, for once she stepped through, there would be no turning back. Amara gripped the phone tightly. The WhatsApp group appeared on the screen, its name shifting between symbols she could not understand. Her thumb hovered, then pressed. Instantly, the room spun away, and she found herself standing in a place that was both real and unreal. A shadowed realm shaped like a Abuja, yet twisted, its streets darkened, its buildings hollow. She knew she had entered the witch's domain. The witch appeared before her, not as a shriveled hag, but as a woman of unsettling beauty. Her eyes glowed like embers, her voice soft and cold. She welcomed Amara by name and told her she had been waiting. Amara's skin crawled as she demanded to know why the witch fed on students. The witch laughed, saying youth was power, and in the old days she had fed on sacrifices brought to her shrine. Now, in this age, she had found a greater shrine in the devices clutched to their hands. Through their greed and desires, they invited her in, willingly. Amara steadied her voice, telling the witch she had come to end it. The witch's smile faded. Shadows rose around them, shaped like the pale forms of her dead classmates, their eyes empty, their hands reaching. They whispered Amara's name, pleading for her to join them. Fear clenched her heart, but she remembered Kabiru's teachings. She recited the incantations, her voice trembling but firm. A light shimmered around her, forcing the shadows to recoil. The witch hissed in fury, her form shifting into something monstrous, half woman, half smoke. She attacked, lashing out with claws of darkness. Amara staggered, but she pressed forward, chanting louder, holding her phone as if it were both weapon and shield. The screen burned with light, brighter than fire, brighter than the sun. The witch screamed, a sound that cracked the ground and split the air. Yet she did not fall easily. She mocked Amara, telling her that victory had a price, and that no one escaped without loss. Amara's strength waned, but then she felt a presence behind her. Ada's voice rang faintly, calling her name, urging her on. Somehow, across realms, her friend's spirit reached her. Renewed by that bond, Amara unleashed the final words of the ritual. The light from her phone surged like a storm. The witch shrieked as her form shattered into fragments of smoke and ash, scattering into the void. The shadows dissolved, their whispers turning into sighs of release. The dark realm crumbled, and Amara was hurled back. She gasped and opened her eyes to find herself in Kabiru's room, the candles nearly burned out. Her body trembled, drenched in sweat. Kabiru watched her with weary eyes and told her she had done what many could not. The witch's hold was broken, but victory came with its wound. Ada lay still on the mat beside her. Her body had grown too frail, and though her spirit had helped Amara, her strength had faded. Amara wept, holding her friend's cold hand, torn between triumph and grief. Kabiru placed a hand on her shoulder and told her that Ada's sacrifice would never be forgotten. Word spread through the university in the weeks that followed. The deaths stopped, and the cursed group vanished from phones. Many never knew what had happened, but those who did whispered Amara's name with reverence. She had faced the witch and survived. Yet at night, when the world was quiet, Amara sometimes dreamed of a notification blinking on her screen, a reminder that evil never truly dies. She would wake with her heart pounding, clutching her phone, whispering prayers into the dark. The story of the WhatsApp witch became a cautionary tale, carried on the lips of students across campuses. Some laughed at it, dismissing it as rumor. Others listened closely, remembering the strange disappearances, the sudden deaths, the unexplainable fear. For Amara, the tale was not rumor, but memory. She had walked through its fire, and though she had returned, a part of her would always remain in that shadowed place. And so, the lesson lived on. In every age, the old evils find new masks. In every era, greed and fear remain open doors. And so ends the chilling tale of the WhatsApp witch. A reminder that even in this age of smartphones and glowing screens, the spirits of old still find new ways to whisper, tempt, and feed. Some tales warn us about forests, rivers, and crossroads. But today's dangers may live inside the very devices we hold so close. If this story stirred your heart and sent shivers down your spine, remember, such folktales are not just entertainment, they are wisdom passed through generations, teaching us to beware of greed, to respect the unseen, and to walk carefully in a world where the past and the present still meet. This has been another timeless journey into the heart of African storytelling, brought to you by Timeless Tales Africa. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because many more ancient secrets and powerful tales are waiting to be told. Until next time, may your nights be peaceful, and may you never hear the whisper of the witch on your phone.